be human is to be a human, a specific person with a life history, an idiosyncrasy, and point of view. Artificial intelligence suggests that the line between intelligent machines and people blurs most when a purity is made of that identity.
You do realize that still doesn't make 2B real, right?
Shut up.
Ghost in the Shell is a 1995 anime film from Production ID based on the manga of the same name by Masamune Shirow. You know, it's funny and crazy how when a film does so well, it exceeds past its own medium. The fact that Ghost in the Shell is known more as a piece of sci-fi fiction than a sci-fi animated film just shows how crazy that it did when it came out. I mean, we're talking about a film that influenced one of the biggest sci-fi movies out there, The Matrix. So seeing as how the live action is coming out today, I thought, why not revisit the original film that basically inspired and started it all? So, without further ado, here's a look back at Ghost in the Shell. To the breakdown.
Ghost in the Shell puts us in the year 2029 in a world where just about everything is connected by a vast electronic network. This network can be accessed by people who have cybernetic bodies dubbed shells. Because of this new system, there is also an increase in hacking throughout all of technology in this society. To counter said hacking, the government created a team specifically to fight against this. This is where we get introduced to our main character in the film, Major Motoko Kusanagi and her team, Public Security Section 9, and their hunt for a very elusive hacker by the name of the Puppet Master.
So the thing about this film for me was how it sort of just starts and then ends. Let's see, how do I put this?
So the film starts off with us seeing her team hunting down someone. Why? I don't know. Yes, it could be explained that the team's job is to hunt down hackers, or that they explain a couple minutes later what happened, but it still feels like the opening was just an opening. That I was just dropped in the middle of a scene without any content. Just a scene to start the movie, but I didn't really get anything out of it. Same matter with the ending. I won't spoil what happens, but it did feel like it ends out of nowhere. The first time I watched it, I was actually taken aback with how the ending just happened.
Wait, that was it?
Then there's the matter the story possibly sounds confusing the first time watching. I won't lie, I didn't really get what was going on until I had another go at the movie. Now at this point in time, I haven't read the manga myself, so I wouldn't know how the story plays out or whether it follows the manga point by point. I would let me more about the details of this film, but if I did, I'd probably be giving you a play-by-play of the movie in its entirety at that point, which I'm pretty sure that's not what you're here for.
This, however, is not the true meaning of the film. The true strength comes from the theme of the movie, something that the director, Mamoru Oshii, really hammered in this film.
Something that I didn't mention on the matter of the network was that in order to connect to this network, one must augment their brain through a process called cybernization, something that's actually shown in the beginning of the film's opening. This augmented brain is what holds a person's conscience, which is dubbed a ghost by the characters. Why is this important to explain? Well, a question that's brought up in this movie is the idea of what defines a human?
How much can you give up of yourself while still retaining the aspect that makes you human? As we advance in technology, things that were nothing more than just fantasy fiction are almost in the palm of our hands. But this, however, also comes at the price of what exactly do we find the dividing line. Say, for example, I replaced all parts of my body with mechanical parts. I can still argue that I'm human so long as I've got my conscience, this aspect that makes me human. But if I was able to grab my conscience, replicate it, and put it in another item, what does that make of me? What does that make of them? Are they human because they have my conscience, or are they nothing more than another object out there? What does it mean for this conscience in this body? The ghost in the shell. That's the idea that this whole movie asks. The characters are average, to say the least. Not that that's bad or anything, it's just who they are at the start is who they are at the end.
Motoko is someone who's a mix between a straight-faced person and Not necessarily a curious-minded individual, but someone who looks at the bigger picture. Most of the time she shows little to no emotions. The few times she does, they help bring out what human traits she has in her. This works well to balance off Bateau, who I would say is the reverse version of her. He's someone who has more range with his emotions, very little scenes of no emotion. Actually, I think he was always feeling something. Bateau always felt human, despite how robotic he looks. Tokuso was another interesting character in this whole charade. In a whole cast where the majority of people are cyborgs, he brings a human element. He provides this defining line for a human identity. The only character who I guess I say didn't stand out too much was Daisuke. I guess since he was someone who was more of the behind the scenes guy, he didn't get too many moments to flesh out his overall character. Funny enough, it's the status quo that helps bring the movie's message to life. Seeing the main drive of Motoko trying to see the line that divides the idea of being alive and being non-existing, Bateau always unsure if he truly believes everything he knows about the lifestyle he lives, and Tokuso's overall being human helped drive this movie. One particular scene that comes to mind is a conversation Motoko and Tokusa have inside a car preparing to hunt down a hacker. Tokusa asks Motoko why he was brought in on a team where someone who was augmented would do better than someone like him, in which she notes that sometimes having a human intuition helps in some places a cyborg mind would not. However, as I said, they don't really change from who they are from the beginning. I end up finding myself remembering other aspects of the movie, with the characters being the last thing on my mind as one of the bigger points of this movie.
You want to talk about something that's held up for 2 decades and still looks this good? Ghost in the Shell's the answer.
Ghost in the Shell is synonymous with production IG. Actually, a lot of the work done on Ghost in the Shell contribute to much of production IG's style of work. You see, the studio is known for being one of the main leads in regards to digital effects in anime. You can see that this film shows a lot of that. One such matter is the opening scene where Motoko uses a camouflage to become invisible. The way that they achieved this effect was that they took an image, which would have been that scene, and distorted it until they felt was right for the look of what they thought was the future. Simple as it sounds, the reality was they kept at it till they got the desired look that they wanted. And that's not all that they did for this film. This film was the first time anyone had overlaid hand-drawn pictures, mainly the backgrounds, with computer-generated visuals. And this was a thing that actually paid off for this film. It brought this field of death that made the city come to life. And there's a lot of amazing shots in this film that are done for it. There's actually a good video that Anime Everyday did on the subject about how Mamoru Oshii uses location to tell his stories. I'll link that in the description.
Okay, so that's just digital effects. What about the animation though? Huh? It's also top notch.
The animation director, Mizuho Nishikubo, did a fantastic job on the animation. He strove to make everything that moved and every reaction have a realistic feel to it. It's something that is especially shown in the film's climactic ending. I guess another interesting tidbit would be the movie's opening credits created by the CGI director Seiichi Tanaka, an effect that many would become aware of in the Matrix films.
The music was handled by Kenji Kawai, who has a hand in almost any media you can think of. So the specialty of the soundtrack for this movie is mostly in its presence, or lack of.
The music has this ambient sound to itself. It always has this hollow sound, where certain notes hang for a few seconds, having a mix of bells, chimes, and just a lot of empty sounding instruments. Something that actually helps with the atmosphere of the city the cast occupies. There's even a use of a Japanese vocal chorus where they sing in ancient Japanese language that really makes it stand out. And for me, of all the tribal-like music I've heard in movies, TV shows, and the like, this one stands out to me. One track does stand out differently though, Night Stalker. Night Stalker is something that I can only describe as a song that reflects the reality of the world of Ghost in the Shell. It's this somber tone that makes me think this idea of having no choice but to accept just everything as it is. That there's nothing more to than what you see. This soundtrack actually reminds me of how the Last of Us soundtrack was done. It rarely uses music to amplify the scenes and what is going on. And in turn, there's very little music to begin with. For the soundtrack, there's only 11 songs. One of which is just a bonus track.
The dub is a divide for me. Between scenes that I really enjoyed, it ultimately didn't stick to me only because it felt like there was a lack of substance in it.
Mimi Wood's Motoko is something I would describe as a voice that could have worked, but fell short of hitting the emotionless tone needed for the character. It worked, but it didn't sound truly convincing Like I said, I didn't mind it, but there was some room for improvement for it. There was a comment that someone said on Behind the Voice Actors that had an interesting idea. Throughout the whole film, Motoko is constantly questioning whether or not she's human. Because of that, Motoko never truly knows how to sound. Again, this is just an idea, so I can't say for sure this is what the voice director, Kevin Seymour, was aiming for with this movie. Togasa's voice actor, Christopher Joyce, is also one of those voices that didn't stay with me that much. Not that it didn't work either, but rather it met the requirement that was expected for the role and didn't exceed past it. He had the average day man sound, but it never felt like anything of that performance truly brought it to life. That could be chalked up to his role being more of a secondary side rather than a main lead. Richard Epcar and William Frederick Knight's performances were of the few that I enjoyed listening to. William Frederick Knight's voice is one that is very befitting of the elder gentleman type of character. It never sounded too old or strenuous and was kept at the right level, making Daisuke feel like a true older man. Richard's voice was probably the more memorable voice of the cast. Well, then again, his voice is one of the more distinguished voices out there. In either case, he was really something in this film. He was able to give Batou this commanding voice with the serious tone that matched Batou's look and personality well. Yes, this is the first time that they attempted the characters, so I wouldn't say this is the ultimatum for them. But seeing as the two of them are only of the few that ever did come back to do future roles in other works for Ghost in the Shell, I give them credit for this movie.
However, there's a very big difference between liking a voice and loving a voice. And Tom Weiner's performance in this is just... So a small trivia about me is that the type of voice I like is usually something that's mature and neither strong or deep. And his performance for the Puppet Master is exactly that. I can't put into words how much I love it, so I'm gonna play a clip. However, it is a spoiler considering it is the first time you actually get to hear him, and it's a heavily written dialogue moment, I guess. So I'm gonna put the timestamp here to where it'll skip and whatnot. So without further ado.
It can also be argued that DNA is nothing more than a program designed to preserve itself. Life has become more complex in the overwhelming sea of information, and life, when organized into species, relies upon genes to be its memory system. So man is an individual only because of his intangible memory, and memory cannot be defined, but it defines mankind. I am a living, thinking entity who was created in the sea of information.
It's just great.
Just as all my complaints are pointless, and a lot of it probably is remedied in the next following up stuff, Standalone Complex. In due time. But for now, 1995 is the one I got under my belt. So do I think Ghost in the Shell is an amazing movie? Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. But you may have noticed I talked a little bit more about the idea and themes of the movie rather than the movie itself. Because of that, it's very unfulfilling in a way. And given the fact that first time around, it's a very confusing movie until you give it another go, it's hard to say that it's something I would recommend immediately going out and watching to understand what makes this movie amazing to others. From what I gathered, a lot of the issues that I had with this film are fixed in Standalone Complex. Not sure about Rise though. So after everything that's all said and done, I guess I would have to give Ghost in the Shell 1995 a silver from me. It's a good film, but I can understand where someone might find it hard to be able to go into it and watch it. I mean, personally, I wouldn't hold it against anybody who couldn't bring themselves to watch it. But overall, if you ever feel like you have nothing else better to do and want to watch something that a lot of people have talked about, I'd say you can probably try to give this one a go. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully, I've improved a lot. I know it's been quite a while since the last video I did, and I'm hoping to fixing that up soon, like really soon. I've got like a bunch of new stuff lined up to get things out soon. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day. If any of you are planning to go watch the Ghost in the Shell movie, hopefully you do get enjoyment out of it, if you've seen the original. I don't know how it's going to stack up, only time can tell, and what a lot of people are going to say in regards to how it is as an adaptation. Without further ado, I'm General Gamma, and this was the Midnight Center. Good day, everyone.